Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. If you don't know me, my name's Vicky Marie. I talk about true crime mostly, other things at times, anything that I think my chatters will find interesting, but mainly true crime. And we've been covering this murder mushroom trial. Erin Patterson, accused of putting death cap mushrooms in a meal, a special lunch she prepared for her in-laws. These four unfortunate people. Did she do it? Looks like we're finally nearing the end of this trial. It can't be more than another week to go. So this is Don Patterson and Gail Patterson. They were the mum and dad of Simon Patterson, Erin's estranged husband. And the lady next to Gail is her sister Heather Wilkinson. And here is Ian Wilkinson, her husband. These are the victims in this trial. Erin Patterson is accused of triple murder. Triple murder. These three unfortunate people died after eating beef Wellington at Erin's home. That's what she served up, but on individual plates. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. You will find the playlist, because we have been covering this trial, of course, since day one. It's about day 326 now. It's not, well, not quite as much. It's about day 35, I think. This trial has gone on for 2 months, really, and it's not over yet. Anyway, she's accused of deliberately serving them death cap mushrooms, which very toxic mushrooms that grow in Australia. She's accused of dehydrating them in a similar dehydrator to this, which she later threw away, discarded, in a beef Wellington, that she prepared herself. And her defense seems to be that, yes, she is a liar, because she's told so many different lies. I couldn't even go into them all. Some of them will come up as we're going through today's video. But she has admittedly told many, many lies. But now she's telling the truth. This is what we're supposed to believe. But, of course, it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what the jury thinks. And the jury will make the final decision as to whether Erin Patterson... she looks so inoffensive here, doesn't she? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly have done anything like that. Did she put these death cap mushrooms in deliberately, or was it, as the defense say, a terrible accident? And Ian Wilkinson, he's the only survivor. He gave his testimony. He testified that Erin served them up on different plates. He and the other three guests had different size plate and colour plate than Erin, but of course Erin disputes that. She disputes everybody's evidence, including her own children, her Facebook friends, the people who died, because they didn't die instantly. We have got testimony of theirs as well. It took them days to die. They died in agony after ingesting these mushrooms. But Erin, no, they're all wrong, according to Erin. Oh, yeah, she told all these lies before, but she didn't mean it. She was just panicking. And then, of course, the lies that she told about having cancer and everything. Oh, there was a reason for that. It's because she was going to have gastric band surgery. Oh, no, she wasn't going to do that. It was liposuction. Oh, actually, the place she said she was going to, they didn't do that either. So, lie after lie after lie after lie. But now she's telling the truth, according to her. And, of course, her defence, Mr Colin Mandy. And that is where we are at in this trial. Colin Mr. Mandy. He is attempting to defend Erin, and the main defence seems to be, yes, she's a liar, but she's not on trial for lying, she's on trial for murder. So just because she's a liar doesn't mean she's a murderer. So, which of course it doesn't, but you know what, it's like, anyway, Erin was the only defence witness that was called. No character witnesses were called, like no friends of Erin, no one so no Erin couldn't possibly have done this. Erin was the only witness called in her own defence, and you know that's so rare that alleged perpetrators of murder are called as defence. Just shows how desperate the defence was. They don't have anybody, do they? So anyway, that's just the way it is. So that's where we are. The prosecution has finished giving their closing arguments. The past couple of days, Mr. Mandy has been giving his closing arguments. He will have the last word, of course. The defence always has the last word. Then it'll be the judge giving the instructions to the jury. And then the jury will be going out for deliberations. Oh, sorry, I meant to show Nanette. Where's she gone? Where's Nanette? Yeah, this is the prosecutor, Dr. Nanette Rogers. I think she's made a very good case, but yeah, it's all in the jury's hands, or it will be after the evidence we hear today from Colin Mandy. Well, it's not evidence. After the closing statements we hear from him. And I've had a quick glance through it. I haven't had time to read properly what happened today or last night, but it's all more of the same. It's, yes, Erin's a liar, but you can't judge her for being a liar. She was in a panic. Oh, one of the words, one of the expressions used was Erin was freaking out. And I just got this picture of Diddy, in the freak off. That word freak will forever live with me now as part of the Diddy button mushroom trial, which I'm not even covering. I haven't even been watching it. Honestly, I have zero interest in that case. Serious as it is, of course, sex trafficking is serious, but it's so disgusting, all of it. It knocks me sick. He knocks me sick. Everybody participated in it, knocks me sick. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, so the word freak will forever, in my memory, in my thoughts, be associated with Diddy button mushroom, which apparently has got button mushroom. We constantly be associated with him. So when I read this headline, Erin was freaking out. I thought, oh my God, I had visions of Diddy, in his, what was that mask he put on, in his mask. That's right, he was supposed to have worn a hijab, wasn't it, to one of those freak-offs. I just thought these visions were coming to me of Diddy with Erin Patterson, and it wasn't nice, so it was just like, oh my God, I wish I hadn't read that. She was freaking out apparently, but not in the Diddy mushroom type of freaking out, in the freaking out of just like panicking. I wish they would have just said panicking and not freaking out. So basically, that's what we're going to go through today. This is the last. I know that it has finished, in the sense Colin Mandy has finished giving his closing arguments. Thank you, God. So, at least we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, finally, because this has just been so long. It's been so long, and it's been full of a lot of technical things, and just listening to these repeated lies that Erin told, and that it's very wearing, isn't it? So God knows how poor Ian, who's had to sit through it, the survivor, how does he feel having had to sit through all that? Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of waffling, of course, before I start. Oh, so one thing is, I don't know if I told you, but I'd lost my little ducks. I ordered these ducks, and I've been giving them out to students and things like to... they just give people a little good feeling, and I lost them. There's about 100 in there, well, or more. I don't even know how many there are. I lost them. So today, when I was looking for something else, do you do that? When you lose something, you can't find it. And today I wasn't looking for the ducks. I've sort of given up on the ducks. I was just thinking, they'll turn up sooner or later. I was looking for an eyeliner. I was looking for an eyeliner that I wanted to put on, which I couldn't find. So I haven't got any eye makeup on because all I was going to put on was my eyeliner. Anyway, I didn't find the eyeliner, but I found the ducks. So I wonder when I'll find the eyeliner, probably when I'm looking for something else. The other thing I've lost are my headphones. So, because I don't really use them, I don't use them to do my streams, but sometimes when I'm listening to other people's streams, my computer, the volume's not brilliant. So loads of times lately I've been trying to find, look, I'm looking around thinking they've got to be here somewhere. I mean, where can they be? They're pink headphones, big pink headphones. They're not the little ones with the, they're the big ones with the big ear things. I don't know where they are. Now, they may be downstairs because, my house has got lots of levels, so they'll probably be downstairs in the classroom or something. But then I was thinking, why would I have taken them down there? So I haven't found my headphones yet, but I found my ducks. And I haven't found my eyeliner yet, but I found my ducks. So, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, is it? Okay, so there's a little bit of waffle for you. So I'm going to say my thank yous now. Thank you everyone for watching, for liking, for subscribing, for being members. AU members, tonight is Members Live. I've got a really special treat for you tonight. Because so many people have sent me nice things like songs and videos and graphics, etc. So I thought I'm going to do a song and a dance for my members. So tonight in Members Live, I'm going to give you a little teaser of it now, very short. Did you get that? Can you name that song in one? So that's the song I'm going to be singing tonight. I'm not giving you any more because I don't want you to guess what it is. It's a surprise. And I'm singing it, which, you might enjoy or you might not. It certainly make you laugh if nothing else. And I'm also dancing to it. So I worked out I'll set my camera, my phone up so that I could. So not a chair dance, but an actual dance. Saying that, the dogs were interfering with it, but they're not on the video. But as I was trying to dance, my little dog Rocky, as he does, he gets his ball and he presses it against the back of your leg when he wants you to throw the ball for him. Sometimes you're at the sink washing up or you're doing something. Next minute, this little dog comes up and he's got his ball in his mouth and he presses it against your calf. He's like, come on, come and throw. So as I was trying to dance, Rocky was doing that. So also I kept forgetting the words of the song and I was reading them off the computer anyway. But I just wanted to make you laugh. And the song means something to the way I feel about my members. So thank you if you remember and look forward to tonight. Thank you to people who buy me Ko-fis, who send me PayPals, who send me nice emails, who leave nice messages. Thank you so much. Thank you to those who've bought merchandise. Remember, my merchandise is on my Ko-fi page. So thank you for that. All the people that have ordered merchandise, it's all on its way to you. I'm not in control, unfortunately, of actually when it gets to you, but it's gone. I've checked. They've gone, they've been sent out, so they'll be winding their way to you. Thank you for that. What else? So, yeah, let me take the banner off now. Gosh, all this chat I've got to go through as well. I can see you're having a good chat there. Yeah, sorry about the waffle. See, we've got to make the most of it, really, because this trial will definitely be finished by the end of next week, I would think. Well, it depends how long the jury takes. But, we've been every morning, haven't we, talking about this trial. We'll probably miss it when we're not talking about it anymore. Okay, little drink. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can see, but I bought some big ice cubes. Great big ones. These are the big ice cubes. See if I can. Can you see that? Okay. Ooh. These are the big ice cubes that when you get near the bottom of your drink and you go to drink it, they splash into your face. But my little ice cubes from my freezer compartment, they just weren't working. Oh, last night, not more waffles, sorry. Last night we had a really big storm. It just literally came out of nowhere. You know, 1 minute it was fine. The next minute it was electric storm. The sky was lit up with lightning. It was pouring down with rain. But it has cleared the air a little bit, but it's 29 degrees. And I've got the aircon on because, in fact, I might turn it off for a bit because it's so noisy. Of course, I don't know where the aircon... Oh, can't find the bloody... Oh, maybe I'll leave it on, because I can't find the remotes. I've got to sort my desk out. That's the problem. I've got so much crap around my desk. Turn it off for a bit, and then when it gets hot again, I'll turn it back on again. So, right, I've forgotten what I was saying now. Oh, so about the ice cubes in my drink. Have I finished with the waffle? Yeah, I've finished with the waffle. So I want to say hello to you lovely lurkers out there. Thank you so much for watching. All those that don't like to join in the chat, but thank you. And then my loathsome lurkers, because there are some loathsome lurkers as well. Just go and watch somebody else. And then I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to all of you. Oh, I've got 100 comments in chat, so that'll be mostly people saying hello to each other probably. I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you that are brave enough to be in the chat. Remember to be respectful to each other and to me. Most of my chatters know that anyway. But also, as I said yesterday, just remember, don't give away too much personal information because there are some loathsome lurkers out there. And we've always got to be careful about what information we give away about ourselves. You know, I don't care, but that's different because I'm, you know, this is my channel and I can stand up for myself. But I know that there are some loathsome lurkers out there who actually do pick on people who join in chats and things. Just like, you know, some proper Fruit Loops out there. So just be careful what information you give away. That's all. Because, you know, I know my chat is so comfortable. We all feel comfortable. People feel comfortable sharing their personal things because most, you know, 99.9% of the chat are really nice, but you just don't know about those loathsome lurkers out there, you know, the total Fruit Loops. So you just got to be careful. Right, I am coming into the chat now to say hello to everybody. Where are we? Oh. Hi, Excel. Yes, you were first today. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Lily Pauly. Hi, Daniel. Happy Thursday. Hi, Bluebell again. Yeah, I've seen Bluebell this morning. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Katie. Now, you know, as I go along, then I'll forget who I've said hello to. Hi, Admit. Hi, David. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Jane. Hello again. Yes, I've got a full house today. Hey, Maria. Oh, Yvonne, see you later if you've got to go out. You like my nails? Oh, so this was one of the new colours that I got, this green, and I already had the blue one on. So I'm probably going to end up with all, you know, different colours on different nails because I like all of them. Yeah, David, it's a horrible case, isn't it? It's just sickening. Yeah, gaslighting. Yeah, it is. I think the defence's case in this case, Jane. I think you're right. I think their strategy has been gaslighting, hasn't it, or just boring the jury rigid. Yeah, Diddy case is grim. Admit. Hi, Angel. You're going to sit down and give it your full attention. You'll need it. It's another one of those mammoth days, I think, today, but it's the last one. Thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah, Princess Tia. Yeah, she does like a good chew on things, so she may well have my. No, she hasn't got. I don't. The eyeliner. I've got 3 makeup bags, and then I've got makeup all. I've got too much makeup. I've got too much makeup, and I've got too many nail varnishes. But there you go. That's what I like. So, Angel, a tin of tuna in your handbag. Ah, dear me. Oh, Tracy. Oh, Tracy lost a bank card, cancelled it, and then found it. Yeah, I've done that with SIM cards before. Glasses. Yeah, they're normally on top of your head. Oh, yeah, Heather's not. She might be back later. Well, she watch on. Yeah, she's okay, but Heather's fine. She has been here and there, but she does work, and I don't know, but she normally catches up. She'll probably be in the members tonight. Blue on nails, it looks fine, but it's the type of blue, isn't it? I just couldn't decide when I can't make a decision. Oh, sorry, Yvonne, bye. I haven't even got going yet because I'm waffling too much. Okay, right. I'm going to get on with it now. So those it's too late now to say it. I need to really, what I should always do is then edit the video and just cut all the waffle out of the front. Now, was there anything else I wanted to say? No. Told you about the new members song. Told about okay, we're ready to go. So let's have a look at a little what's the word? A couple of little news. I like to, we like to put a little summary on of what the news have been saying about it. So let's have a look at that. Oh, wrong one. Hang on. I'm sharing my own video. That's just not a good idea, is it? I don't need to share it because I'm showing it. Too many windows open as usual. Here we go. Let's just have a look at this. So this is just a couple of minutes summary by 7 News.
Has reached its final stage with the defence delivering its closing argument. Today, Colin Mandy told the jury Erin Patterson's actions in the days after the deadly meal are entirely consistent with someone who panicked. Reporter Estelle Grieping has spent the day in court.
Well, the defence in the mushroom murder trial are expected to wrap up their closing arguments today. That means that today will be the last time the jury in this trial hear from either the prosecution or the defence. Now, this brings to a close a marathon 2-month trial. Now, all that's left to do is for the jury to be given their final instructions.
Yeah, they're all coffee monsters. Whenever you see them going into mind you need a bloody coffee in this trial. You need more than a coffee. I hope they've got I hope Ian's got whiskey in there. God, you need more than a coffee, don't you? But you see them all going in holding their cups of coffee. So, yeah, keep them awake, I think.
By the judge before they're sent out to deliberate on whether mushroom cook Erin Patterson is guilty or not guilty. Today, her defence lawyer Colin Mandy continued to cast doubt on the strength of the prosecution case, saying Ms Patterson's account of the events of the lunch and her actions afterwards is the one that fits the evidence best. He's rubbished the prosecution's argument about Ms Patterson having one true phone and one dummy phone that she handed over to police, claiming that if his client was guilty, she would have disposed of her phone long before police came knocking on her door, describing her actions as entirely consistent with someone who panicked.
Entirely consistent with someone who panicked. Right, so there you go. Let's get the first lie of the day. And the lie, honestly, the defence lawyer, he's telling most of the lies at the moment because, of course, it's him who's talking, not Erin. We don't get to hear Erin speaking, do we? So, or even, it's him speaking on her defence at the moment. go. First one of the day, but it won't be the last one, will it?
He went on to say Erin Patterson had become frantic in the days after the lunch because people were blaming her, understandably, because whichever way you look at it, it was her fault. She starts panicking and she starts lying. Mr Mandy also criticised some of the medical evidence brought forward by the prosecution, mobile phone data that suggested Ms Patterson visited the town of Outram where death cap mushrooms had been spotted, and evidence from a number of witnesses, including Ms Patterson's online friends and her own son. It's now up to the jury to decide the fate of Erin Patterson. It's expected they'll go out to deliberate sometime next week.
Yeah, little summary, but we're going to go through all of it. Got one more to just watch here, just one more little news item before we start. This one. Just to remind us what
Patterson's legal team has reminded the jury she's not on trial for lying as the mushroom murder trial reaches its conclusion. The defence today laid...
Well, lucky for her, she's not on trial for lying, isn't it? My God, I've never known anyone tell so many lies and think that they can get away with it.
Labelled part of the prosecution's case absurd, telling the court mistruths don't make her a killer.
In the final day...
Yeah, there's all these new words now for lies, isn't there? There's mistruths, untruths. But that all it means is lies. You know, you can call it, you can, you know, dress it up as much as you want. You can call it a mistruth or an untruth, but it's still a lie at the end of the day.
Of the mushroom murder trial, Erin Patterson's defence team is casting doubt on the prosecution's case, calling their allegations absurd and the evidence against their client selective.
God, it seems really weird to me to see Nanette there in her... God, she's got a big thick coat on and gloves and everything. Oh, it makes me hot just looking at her.
In today's efforts to convince the jury
I don't mean hot in a rude way. I mean hot as in warm, because of course it's boiling here.
Mushroom cook is not guilty of murder. Colin Mandy said evidence from the lunch's sole survivor, Ian Wilkinson, about Ms Patterson eating her own beef Wellington from a different coloured plate was wrong.
Yeah.
He said that his client was honestly mistaken.
Honestly mistaken? There is nothing honest about Erin Patterson. Nothing.
When she booked an appointment at a Melbourne clinic for gastric bypass surgery, despite the business not offering that service. Referring to Ms Patterson's reported habit of mushroom foraging, he said it made sense her computer records showed she'd looked up the location of death cap mushrooms in her local area, saying it would be an obvious enough question for someone who was picking wild fungi. On the lies the mother of two admits to telling about foraging for mushrooms, owning a dehydrator and having cancer, Mr Mandy reminded the jury his client is not on trial for lying. Whether or not you agree or condone or think what she did was morally correct, those things don't have any place in this trial. A person who accidentally made 4 people very unwell with all of the consequences of that, including the custody of her children on the line, that person has a motive to tell a lot of lies. Colin Mandy plans...
Yeah, but the thing is, Colin, the reason that that she's on trial and the reason that the custody of her children are on the line are because of the lies she told. If she had nothing to hide, if it was a genuine accident, Erin would be coming to this trial, genuinely upset. You think people cannot tell the difference between someone who's genuinely upset because they've made a terrible mistake and the difference between that and somebody who's just trying to cover their back with a load of lies? I don't think Colin's strategy is working, but only the jury will decide that.
Plans to finish his closing arguments tomorrow in what will be his final chance to address the jury. After that, all that's left is the judge's charge before the jury decide Erin Patterson's fate. Those deliberations are expected to begin sometime next week. Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
Okay, so that's some summaries, but we're going to go to the ABC feed, that we've been looking, and we're going to look at it right from the beginning. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, we all love coffee, but it's just, I've never seen so many people carrying coffee into a courtroom. Hi, Friday Tie Day. Are they? I didn't get that impression, to be honest, from the news items I've watched. I don't get the impression that they're pro Erin. In fact, the opposite. But having said that, I don't know. I suppose they're trying. They've got to be impartial. Luckily for me, I don't have to be impartial. I'm a YouTuber. I can say, what I think, but it doesn't matter what I say. That's literally is just my opinion, because the jury will decide. And you know what? This jury, they might come in next week and say not guilty, and we will all have to accept that. But I don't think Erin will ever escape from this. I think the lies she's told, maybe she's not on trial for lying, but it's not good, is it, to lie about having cancer? To accuse people like Ian of lying, really, is what she's doing. The thing is, she's not above accusing everybody else of lying, is she? That's why I don't feel sympathy for Erin anymore, because at all. I mean, I felt limited sympathy probably at the beginning of this trial. And now I don't feel any, because you throw anybody else under the bus. She doesn't care about throwing people under the bus and saying that they're not telling the truth, or they've remembered it wrong, or, bringing up. She doesn't care about that. So it's very difficult to find any sympathy for her, is it? Oh, for goodness sake, someone at the door. Just hold on. Don't know. I have no idea who it is. Right, won't be a sec. Well, I've decided I'm not going to answer it, because I think it might be the postman or the post person. But I'm not answering it, because if I open the blinds or I go to the door, the dogs will start barking and everything will be chaotic. Yeah. I didn't like the way they rang the bell. I hate it when people go ding, 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 ding like that. Just ring it once. It's like, what? As if they're so important. Unless it is somebody important, of course. Could be the police or some. God, don't even think about it. But the trouble is to look, see who it is. Right, I'm just going to look through the spy hole. Sorry. Yes, the problem to look, see who it is. I either have to lift the blinds up or look through the spiral, but I couldn't see anybody there. Maybe they've moved on. They're probably going down the street. They tend to go down the street and ring all the doorbells. I can't see anybody there. Oh, sounded like a door just went of a car. Maybe it is the post or something. But the thing is, I should have a label, to say on, do not ring the bell. Anyway, right, I'll try and get my thoughts back together again now. Yeah, well, on my Amazon, I leave instruction. Have I got anything? I don't think I've got anything waiting for. On my Amazon, I leave instructions, do not ring the bell, because even if I'm not on a live, all the dogs start barking and it's all chaos. So I leave because there is a place they've just got to come in through the gate and leave anyway. Sorry, I'm waffling again now. So I don't think it was Amazon, because I'm not expecting any Amazon, and they would just bring it in without ringing the bell. Oh dear! I think they just know when I'm on a live. Right, I have to get my head together again now. Right, so the neighbours' dogs are barking now, so they've probably gone next door and knocked on there. It's probably someone who's trying to sell something. Okay, I've forgotten what I was saying, but never mind. Right, so we're going on to the ABC thing now. Now, this started by Justice Beale. Let's have a look at Justice Beale. Remember, I've made this photo of him with his wig on. Probably a little bit disrespectful. But to be honest, I found Justice Beale has been quite disrespectful with all the jokes he's made throughout this trial. You know, this is a triple murder trial. You know, it's just think it's been a bit unseemly that he's often sort of made jokes, etc. Anyway, there you go. So Justice Beale. He starts the proceedings by telling the jury he will not begin giving his directions till Tuesday. Oh my God. It's like, you know, we thought it might, he could have started tomorrow, really. But anyway, he's not starting tomorrow. But not only that, he's not starting Monday, he's starting Tuesday. So the jury will have Monday off. And does this mean they'll have Friday off as well? Mr. Mandy will complete his closing address today. Then there are legal matters to attend to. In other words, he's playing golf. And I will be sending you home then. Think of it as a second Easter. Think of it as a second Easter. He's a bit flippant, isn't he? You know, for a judge. I can't imagine a British judge saying that. I do think British judges, you know, when you watch them giving sentences, I mean, they do seem to be serious at least, you know, whatever we think of judges or not. But Justice Beale seems too flippant to me. I don't like it personally. My charge will take at least 2 days. I'm working hard to try and compress it, but there's quite a lot of information. So that means if he this is called the judge's charge, where he, you know, he sums things up for the jury, gives them their instructions on what their verdicts can, you know, the form that their verdicts contain. So he's saying that he's not starting till Tuesday. So that'll be Tuesday and Wednesday. So the jury won't even be sent out for deliberations till, you know, at the end of Wednesday or Thursday. So maybe it will go into another week. Depends how long the jury come to their conclusion, doesn't it? So Colin Mandy gets up now and continues his closing arguments. So he begins today's... So remember, get yourself a cup of tea because it'll probably last a little while, this. Mr. Mandy begins today's proceedings by raising the testimony of Christine Hunt, who gave evidence earlier in the trial. So this is the other thing I don't like about this defence. The whole thing about this defence is condemning what everybody else says, expecting us to believe what Erin says, even though she is an admitted liar. And but everybody else, they're wrong. They're mistaken. You know, all these other testimonies are mistaken and only Erin's is the correct one. Miss Hunt says she was an online friend of Erin Patterson, but Mr. Mandy says that she was not part of a close-knit private Facebook group chat. So she's a liar as well. Miss Hunt earlier gave evidence that Miss Patterson was an atheist who held herself out as a church-growing Christian. So Mr. Mandy is going to say that Miss Hunt was lying when she said that. Everyone's a liar except Erin. But Mr Mandy tells the jury that only Miss Hunt was asked by the prosecution about Miss Patterson's religious beliefs, while those in the private chat group were not asked the same question. Well, wasn't that, Colin, up to you to ask that question? If you think you've got Facebook friends of Erin's that will say she wasn't an atheist, that she was a Christian, why didn't you call them? Why didn't you call them? You didn't call any defence witnesses apart from Erin. So, that doesn't hold up, does it? That's an example, we say, of picking and choosing the evidence that suits them and ignoring the others. Well, that's what solicitors do. But the thing is, Colin, why did you not pick those people as defence witnesses then? You didn't, did you? So he then urges the jury to use caution when considering whatever Miss Hunt said in court. You should be reluctant to act on her evidence without properly considering all that context, he says. Erin Patterson was not an atheist. Yes, she was. Mr Mandy then makes a correction on one point from his address yesterday. He had previously said that witness Christine McKenzie was not an expert in toxic mushrooms, and he says that she was very experienced in that field, but he argues she was not the preeminent expert in the field. So do you see, is the whole defence's argument is undermining everybody else, but it's Erin who's the proven liar. God. I just hope the jury is seeing this as well. Mr Mandy clarifies another statement from yesterday when he told the jury that Erin Patterson had been tasting her mushroom paste while cooking it. He corrects the record and he says there is no evidence that Miss Patterson tasted the paste after adding the allegedly poisonous mushrooms. So he's lied in the statement. So there's two, right, where's my lie thing? So this is the bloody defence lawyer. God, what chance have we got when he can't even get things right? He's said the... I can't bear these defence lawyers sometimes. I absolutely can't bear it. What these people, 3 people died, 3 vulnerable people. Those Heather, Gail and Don, they went there. They were looking forward to that meal, looking forward to it. They had supported Erin when she needed support. Now, and this Colin Mandy is just as bad. He's just as bad. So he's now changed his mind. He says Erin did not say in her evidence she actually tasted the duck cells after adding the dried mushrooms, he says. But using your common sense, you might expect that was exactly what had happened. What would happen. So what is he saying? That if you don't, you've got no common sense if you don't believe Erin. Well, do you know what? I must have absolutely no common sense because I don't believe Erin and I don't believe him either. He then turns to evidence from Erin Patterson's son that his mother was drinking coffee on the morning after the lunch. So remember, her son said he came downstairs and Erin was drinking coffee. And she said, oh, I wasn't drinking coffee. I had an upset tummy and I was drinking ginger tea or some crap like that. And so he's calling the accuracy of this in. Was this teenage boy watching his mother like a hawk all morning? He suggests that he instead acted like most teenagers and went to play computer games instead of focusing on his mother. And that may well be true. And it may be because she said she was drinking ginger tea but in a coffee cup. So the thing is, there's no way of proving that. And it may be that her son just saw her with a normal cup and just thought, oh, she's having some coffee. But, ginger tea, I don't know. Would it be one of those teas with the little label that hangs out the side? Wouldn't you have noticed that? you know, and in my experience with teenage boys, because I've got well, he was not a teenager now, but he was a teenager once. It's true, they don't notice everything. But they notice some things. It's amazing, really, because sometimes when you think, oh, they won't notice that, they bloody do. You know, typical. And I think he would have noticed if it was anything out of the ordinary, he would notice it. Like if he came down and she was drinking a beer, you know, he'd notice that. So I think, what's she doing drinking a beer at this time in the morning? So I think if she was drinking a ginger tea, depending on, you know, if it was in the coffee cup and, you know, maybe not. But anyway, it doesn't matter, because there are other things that the teenage boy said, you know, like about her not going to the toilet on the way to the flying lessons, and her saying that was mistaken. He can't have been mistaken about everything. Anyway, he then accuses the prosecution of being misleading with their evidence, noting that the Crown had ignored other aspects of his testimony. Her son also said she didn't sound like her usual happy self. Well, no, she just murdered 3 people, or poisoned 3 people, 4 people. So no, she wouldn't be like her usual self, probably. He then questions the prosecution's arguments around Erin Patterson driving to a flying lesson in Tayab on the Sunday after the lunch. He argues that someone pretending to be ill would not have gone through the ordeal, a long journey. Why would she go on this journey to Tayab, Mr. Mandy says. If she was faking being unwell, she'd go to bed and leave this trail for her children. And he then cast doubt over the recollections of Miss Patterson's son. Well, do you know what? I don't know what these children are going to think of Erin let's suppose that Erin gets found not guilty. Do you think the children, when they look into this about what happened to their grandparents, why their mother was accused of killing them, and they look into this, like, why, Mum, why did you say we were liars all the time? During the trial, Mr. Patterson told the jury she was forced to pull the car over during their drive to Tayab due to a bout of diarrhea. Because remember, she said she went and did a poo in the bush, and then she picked it up, and that's what she disposed of when she stopped at the service station. As if you bother clearing up a diarrhea poo that you did in the Australian bush. In his police interview, Miss Patterson's son told the investigators he had no recollection of his mother stopping to go to the toilet in the bushes. He would remember that. He would remember that, teenager or not. What did he not notice when the car stopped? She went off to do a diarrhea poo, came back with a poo bag that she was going to dispose of. He wouldn't have remembered that. Of course he would. He would have thought it was gross, wouldn't he? Do you imagine? You know what? You can. Oh God! Of course he would have noticed, and he would have been grossed out by it. Of course he would. So Mr. Mandy counters that her son also did not mention a documented stop at the Caldermead BP. He didn't recall either of them, Mr. Mandy says. The defence suggests to the jury that if her son's memory was faultless, he would have told police about a stop at the petrol station. Well, she did only stop for 9 seconds. But yeah, I will take that. He should have remembered that as well. You know. But the thing is, we can't ask the son either, because the son, he gave his statement like right back at the time. So it's not been asked again, or, you know, so we can't confirm this. He then turns to Erin Patterson's strong desire to leave hospital after the lunch. The defence submits to the jury that the only reasonable explanation is that Erin felt overwhelmed by the situation, believing she was only making a brief stop at the hospital. It was an extremely intense 5-minute interaction where she was told she would be admitted and transferred to another hospital in Melbourne. She was not refusing treatment. She was saying she had things to do. Yes, she had to go home, put the lambs away. Prepare her daughter's ballet bag and have her lie down, even though she'd just been told she might be on death's door. She was plainly struggling to process what she was being told. I'm starting to get really angry now. I don't want to get angry. I'm going to try not to get angry because I'm getting really angry about Erin's lies. And I'm getting really angry with Colin Mandy and the gaslighting that he's doing. So Mr. Mandy tells the jury that Miss Patterson's desire to get her affairs at home in order and prepare her daughter for ballet was entirely reasonable. Yeah. Of course, just been told you might have to have a liver transplant and your children might be on death's door. Just been told all that. You think, best just go and sort the ballet stuff out. Right, where's the lie thing? God, I need something stronger than... The anger that I'm feeling about the lies, I just cannot cope with it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, just go and get the ballet stuff ready. Mr. Mandy draws the jury to mobile phone network data that showed that Erin Patterson's phone pinged briefly to the Outram base station during her time away from the hospital. In its closing address, the prosecution argued this was consistent with Miss Patterson travelling southwest of Leongatha, and the defence challenges this interpretation, saying the prosecution ignored alternative explanations provided by telecommunications expert Matthew Sorrell. But again, why did Mr. Mandy not bring Dr. Sorrell as a defence witness then? If what he's going to start saying now is that the testimony that Matthew gave could be different, why didn't he call him as a witness? He didn't call anybody as a witness. He can say all this. Says he reads out a transcript from Dr. Sorrell, who explained that a mobile... I think it's you, Mr. Mandy, that are cherry-picking things. You're cherry-picking it. You didn't call him as a witness, did you? Who explained that a mobile phone appearing to ping on another base station could be explained by someone moving from the front of a house to the back of a house. These records are consistent with her never leaving the house. Mr. Mandy says, this is another example of the prosecution giving you a selective impression of the evidence. I mean, how horrible that your only defence is just really being horrible about everybody else's testimony, but not calling anybody to prove what you're saying. So now the stool samples Erin Patterson provided at Leongatha Hospital after the lunch are in focus once more. Mr. Mandy says the samples of watery liquid Miss Patterson produced, hope you're not having your lunch, were labelled by a nurse, Miriam Sespon, as a stool. He says Miss Sespon was under oath and told the jury it was a stool sample, and this was never questioned by the prosecution. But actually, from what I can remember, and again, why did he not call Miriam Sespon as a witness? But from what I remember, and I'd have to see a transcript to be sure, but didn't she say that Erin had told her? She thought it looked like urine, and Erin told her it was a stool. And that's why the nurse labelled it as a stool. That's my memory of it. And again, funny Mr. Mandy did not bring her as a defence witness. So he challenges the prosecution argument that Erin Patterson avoided medical treatment as she knew she was not ill. Of course she did. She was a hypochondriac. She was down the doctors for everything. And then when she was told that she might need a liver transplant, she just went home, laid down and got her daughter's ballet stuff together. In the trial, we heard that Miss Patterson did not want to be cannulated to be given fluids while in hospital. And the barrister calls this a contradictory argument that runs counter to what someone faking illness would do in that situation. And Mr. Mandy theatrically raises his voice as he suggests the words of someone fabricating an illness. Now, it's funny because courtrooms, of course, they are like theatres, aren't they? You know, they're quite dramatic. They can be quite dramatic. It reminds me of a theatre, like they say that, you know, good prosecution lawyers and defence lawyers, they have to be almost like actors, really, because they have to energise the jury, don't they? They have to bring cases to life, and especially the prosecutors, because the victims are not there. In this case, Ian survived and he was there to actually, his testimony will have been very persuasive, I think, to the jury. But because he, you know, they saw a real person who had suffered. But often when you've got a prosecutor, they're talking about a victim they have to talk for the victim, don't they? So a good prosecutor brings the victim to life. So it is a bit like a theatre. It is a bit like a drama, but it's real life drama, isn't it? So I'm going to say, did he say it like this? If you're pretending to be sick, you're going to be saying to the medical staff, hook me up, pump me full of drugs. I am very, very sick, please. Mr. Mandy shouts to the jury. Right, I wanted to use a word then that I shouldn't use on YouTube. And I want to use this. I thought, I'll say it in Spanish, but, you know, YouTube picks up on Spanish words as well. It knows all languages. But I think Mr. Mandy is a gilipollas, personally. So they take a break. And the jury, well, no, right, okay. Yeah, then they come back. And the defence moves to the topic of Erin Patterson's children allegedly eating their leftovers from the lunch but not falling ill. And Mr. Mandy poses a question to the jury. Would the children have become ill from eating the meat with the mushrooms scraped off? He asks. And he says that question can only be answered by expert evidence which was not provided. Well, you didn't call any expert evidence, did you, Colin, either? God, everything he's saying. It's like, where was his experts? He never called one expert in defence of Erin. The only person he called to testify was Erin. Colin Mandy, gilipollas, where are your experts? Where are your experts? Where's the Facebook friends that say that Erin wasn't an atheist? You know, where are they? So he's lying over and over again. Colin Mandy is lying. He's the one that's distorting the truth, isn't he? Good God, the absolute brass face of it. Where's your experts, Colin? To a defence. I understand that that's the bedrock of our society. Everyone's innocent till proven guilty. Everyone is entitled to a defence, even the worst of people. But when you hear somebody blatantly saying these things but calling nobody to defend what he's basically gaslighting in a big way, because he hasn't called anyone to corroborate what he's saying. I hope the jury see this. I hope to God they do. Because, you know, sometimes people can be swayed by authoritative men, like using posh words. You know, I hope the jury aren't. So he says the jury thus cannot rule out other possibilities such as amatoxins not being absorbed by the meat. And he concedes that some samples of the meat did turn up positive for the presence of amatoxins. But the thing is, Erin had messed about with those leftovers. If anyone who thinks that those leftovers that Erin told the police where they were, if anyone thinks they were genuine leftovers, you know, there's a few bridges I could sell you, because obviously she That's where she disappeared to when she discharged herself. She was fiddling with the evidence that was left behind. That's what she was gone for, an hour and a half or something. She said she had to lie down, she prepared the bally bag, and she let the put the lambs in the enclosure. Doesn't take an hour and a half, does it? Those leftovers were fiddled with, so you can't really, I mean, my argument, to be honest with that, is that you couldn't rely on any of that as evidence because you don't know for certain. You know, they're the leftovers. They're what Erin said were the leftovers, but you don't know. So he tells the jury that some samples of the meat came back negative as well, implying an uneven distribution of the toxin. And he claims that the prosecution's argument is speculation and not based on the evidence. Whatever, Colin. He reiterates that his client was in fact sick after the lunch and attended hospital as her symptoms had not subsided. She was not as sick as the other lunch guests, nor did she represent that she was. He says he challenges the prosecution's argument that Miss Patterson's elevated vital signs was due to stress. He says that expert evidence told the court that diarrhea is also a form of physical stress, which he said supported Miss Patterson's claims of illness. Sure, Boris. Yeah, whatever. He references test results from Erin Patterson's stay in hospital, where he says health staff took 3 readings that could not be faked. Low potassium, elevated hemoglobin, and elevated fibrinogen. Now, that could be right. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I haven't got a clue. But yet again, I would challenge Colin Mandy. Where's his expert saying that? Why didn't he bring an expert in and say, to say this? Because he didn't want them being cross-examined. Well, he probably couldn't find an expert because these things could be due to anything. If you've ever had a blood test, you get your blood test back, it's got like a million different things on there. You might have low potassium for many reasons. You might have elevated hemoglobin for many reasons or elevated fibrinogen. I don't know. And when they say low, how low? How elevated? The other things, it to a concerning level. Normally when you get your blood test back, God, I'm trying to think because it's been ages since I've had one, but don't they put like an acceptable range? So say, and I'm just sort of making this up, but say low potassium, they'd say like the level was 3, say. I don't know if that's it. And then it'll say at the side what the acceptable level is. So maybe if your reading was 3 and the acceptable level is, 3.1 to 6.1. So you're just 0.1 below. That's not really that concerning, is it? So your doctor, when you go through your blood results with your doctor, they'll normally say, oh, well, your potassium's a little bit low, but it's not, if your potassium was supposed to be 3 and it was only 1, that's a big difference. And then your doctor would say, oh, we need to give you something to improve your potassium. But yeah, when it says low, what does it mean? How low? How elevated? Where's your expert again? Colin Gilipollas. That's going to be his new nickname. I hope he doesn't speak Spanish. Oh dear. Anyway, I shouldn't be disrespectful, but he's not very respectful, is he? I never feel guilty about being disrespectful when the people I'm being disrespectful to are not respectful themselves. So he's like totally disrespectful to everybody who stood up there and given evidence, even poor Ian. So as he has done several times in his closing, Mr Mandy has zoned in on questions that the prosecution did not ask of witnesses. Well, why didn't he ask then? Well, this just doesn't stand up, Colin. You can't say to the prosecution didn't ask these questions. You didn't ask them either. He challenges the claim by the prosecution that even a little bit of amatoxin consumption would make someone very ill. Where's the evidence of that in this case? From any of the toxicologist liver specialists, Mr. Mandy says. Why wasn't anyone asked that question? I don't know, Colin, why weren't they? Why did you not ask them? Why do you think Colin didn't ask? Because he knew that the answer would be yes. Victorian toxicologist Dimitri Gerostomoulos told the court during his testimony that lethal dose was considered to be 0.1 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. I think Erin and Colin Mandy might end up getting married, to be honest. They're like two peas in a pod, aren't they? They're like they're a match made in heaven. Mr. Mandy turns to the Asian grocer where Erin Patterson says she bought dried mushrooms. Oh, you know, this mysterious Asian grocer that never existed. He says that his client merely provided a list of suburbs she thought the store was in, but had not been certain. She was never saying to anyone that she was certain about which suburb the shop was in, Mr. Mandy says. And Mr. Mandy says that stores in the suburb of Glen Waverley were never checked by council workers. So it's the council workers' fault now, despite later being mentioned by Erin. And Mr. Mandy suggests to the jury that the council was honestly mistaken. So he's falling short of calling them liars. He's saying they were honestly mistaken. Earlier in the trial, the court heard from Troy. Oh gosh, I'd forgotten about Troy. Poor Troy. So all his evidence is, you know, he had to traipse around all the bloody Asian grocers looking for these poison mushrooms. And, you know, now he's sort of casting aspersions on his testimony. But he didn't call him either as a witness. He should have called Troy and challenged what Troy said, shouldn't he? So he searched for an Asian grocer alleged to have sold deadly mushrooms. So it's poor Troy who had to go on the bloody wild goose chase. He investigated more than a dozen Asian grocers but found only one store selling mushrooms with their own packaging. And Mr. Mandy says the discovery of the packaging indicates his client was telling the truth. Lo and behold, one of the small number of Asian grocers visited by a Monash council worker had packaging exactly like what she'd described. Well, yeah, so why was nobody else poisoned? So if this Asian supermarket had been packaging up their own mushrooms and selling them, but only Erin's, only the packet that Erin bought had death cap mushrooms in it, nobody else's. So Mr. Choconet was unable to find death cap mushrooms fitting the direct description given by Miss Patterson. That's because there weren't any. I'm just making sure you're all okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm saying yeah. Hi, yeah. I think that's exactly right, Jane. The contaminated leftovers went the same way as phone A in the grey and tan orange plates. Yeah, exactly. Goodness me. Unbelievable. Yeah, if they get married, it'll have to be a jail wedding, yeah. Hopefully. I do know, it makes you worry, doesn't it? Because when you hear Colin gaslighting like this, as I say, some people, they believe, so, you know, it'll be this authoritative, you know, people think, oh, well, he's a solicitor, he's a lawyer, he must be telling the truth. And sometimes people do listen to what men say more than women, but I do think, I mean, we're not there, are we? So we can't. It's so frustrating not actually being able to hear what they say, the way they put it over, etc. But the jury are there, so I just hope the jury find the right conclusion, or what, you know, at the end of the day, we have to accept what the jury, whatever the jury end up concluding, we have to accept it. Now, it'd be interesting to see what the judge's charge is. Now, I think this judge, he's quite pally with Mr. Mandy, or he's always, making jokes about him and that, like, so, but being, I mean, the judge is supposed to be impartial, isn't he? So he'll be giving his advice to the judge. It's not advice on which verdict to take. He'll be pointing out some things they should accept, other things maybe they can't accept. He'll be giving them some guidance. So a lot of it will depend on what the judge says as well. Okay, a break. And Mr Mandy focuses on a phone conversation between Erin and Simon Patterson following the lunch. And the prosecution alleges she did not ask how her ill relatives were and only focused on her own symptoms, something that Mr Patterson told the court he found strange. And Mr Mandy says the prosecution only asked Mr Patterson 3 questions when interrogating this phone call and criticised them for building their argument over so few questions. That is not a fair representation of that evidence, and it's not a fair representation because the prosecution could have asked all sorts of questions about a conversation that was much longer than 3 questions and answers. Again, though, did Mr Mandy call Simon? No. No, he didn't. So Mr Mandy identifies a point in which Erin Patterson began freaking out. Oh my God, as soon as he says freaking out, Diddy button mushroom just pops into my head, and this horrible vision of them having a freak off or a freak out together. Oh God, I'm not going to be able to shake that off. That'll be haunting me tonight when I go to bed. It just that word freak just has been ruined as a word that you could use. I would never use that word again because it just reminds me of button mushroom, Diddy button mushroom. People were blaming her, understandably, because whichever way you look at it, it was her fault, he says. No, it wasn't her. If she was innocent, it wasn't her fault. If it was a genuine accident, it wasn't her fault. So that's not true in itself. Whichever way you look at it, it was her fault. If she was innocent, it wasn't her fault. But she's not innocent. He says the conversation Miss Patterson recalled where she says her husband asked her if she'd used the dehydrator to poison his parents was a fulcrum or turning point in her mind. But of course, Simon Patterson said he never said that. But Mr Mandy says this triggered Miss Patterson start considering what could have occurred. Once they have that conversation about the dehydrator, the wheels start turning. She knows how ill people are. She knows that death cap mushrooms are the possible culprit. She starts panicking. She freaks out. And she starts lying at this point. I'm sorry, you just wouldn't. No. I can't accept that. You can put that into you can imagine that could be you. You've had people to dinner and then they all fall ill and 3 of them die. What you can't get away from the fact you've had them to dinner. So you would try your very best to get to the bottom of it, wouldn't you? You'd feel so awful about it. You wouldn't then stop cooperating like Erin did. Remember, she wasn't answering the phone to the investigators. Notice that he's not bringing this up. So who's cherry picking the evidence, Colin? Why aren't you talking about how she blanked the investigator who in the end had to wait until the Child Protection Services were at Erin's house and phoned the Child Protection Services and asked them to put her on to Erin because Erin wasn't answering calls or returning calls. So why don't you bring that evidence up? You're the one who's cherry picking, Colin. And Mr Mandy says that even if Miss Patterson had come clean at that moment, the lunch guests... What? Oh my God. So let's just read this slowly. Mr Mandy says, even if Miss Patterson had come clean at that moment, the lunch guests were too far gone and there was nothing medical professionals could do. Oh, well, don't matter then, does it? Doesn't matter, they were dead anyway. What's the point? What's the point in trying to help out? They were dead anyway, they were too far gone. Oh my God, what a horrible man you are. Let me just have a look at him. I just want to shout at him. Hi, Heather. Let's have a look at this horrible man. Oh my God. I mean, I hope I never see him in another trial either, because I already don't like him. I very rarely like defence lawyers, to be honest. Because defending the indefensible sometimes is just not good, is it? So, gosh, hope this doesn't go on much longer. So, Mr. Mandy says the idea that Miss Patterson created a decoy mobile phone, phone B, while hiding her original phone, phone A, from police does not hold up. Why would she go to all the effort to setting up phone B as a dummy phone to give to investigators? He says why doesn't he why doesn't he say why did she factory reset the phone all those times? Anyway, never mind. He says if his client was guilty, she would have simply taken her original phone to the tip. And he says that Miss Patterson had no idea that the police were on the way to search her home on August the 5th. And he says that if Miss Patterson had committed murder and was anticipating a police search, she would have chosen an easier path of actions. Then she would have done something far easier to avoid any chance of the police finding any evidence, he says. If the intent was to conceal the contents of phone A, why wouldn't she just factory reset it? Well, she did, didn't she? She did it 3 times. Anyway, he disputes that Erin Patterson removed the SIM card from phone A while police were searching her home. She could not... What? She could not have somehow concealed and covertly removed a SIM card from her phone while under the constant observation of experienced homicide squad detectives. No, but she was allowed to go off and be on her own, wasn't she, while she phoned a lawyer? That was a mistake that the police did. That was sloppy of the police. They were with her most of the time, but they allowed her to go off on her own, didn't they? And make a phone call to a lawyer. And, you know, I'm not being funny, but SIM cards are tiny. If you took out a SIM card, you should probably put it in a bra or something. I mean, you could put it in your shoe. You could put it anywhere. SIM cards are tiny, tiny little things. Nearly as small as Diddy's little mushroom. You know, they're tiny. So it would have easily have been hidden somewhere, wouldn't it? On her person, because they weren't searching her, were they? So it could have been put down her bra. Literally, it could have been in her pocket, in her shoes. You know, that is rubbish. So the prosecution alleges that Miss Patterson removed the card while allegedly speaking to a lawyer in a separate room. And Mr. Mandy says this means phone A must have been in the same room that police allowed her to make her phone call in. That's quite a feat, he says. He tells the jury... I think he's been watching a different trial to me. He tells the jury that only his client's explanation holds up to scrutiny. Erin's account is the one that fits the evidence the best. If she had successfully hidden phone A from investigators, why did she wait until the next day to put that SIM card into a different phone? The stupid thing she did was the factory reset phone B a couple of times, 3 times. Entirely consistent with someone who panicked for no good reason. Because there was nothing to be achieved by factory resetting phone B. This is just the thing that we all do. We all do that, don't we? I remember the famous person who factory reset his phone, of course, was Stephen Stearns. Look at him. That's not really, a good example, is it? To say, oh, just because someone factory reset the phone, it doesn't mean anything. We know for a fact in most cases where someone factory resets their phone, in murder cases and things, it's because it's for a reason. Oh, thank God this is the last day of this crap. Mr Mandy tells the jury that police missed electronic devices during their search of Miss Patterson's home, and the investigators said that if they'd seen electronic devices, they would have seized them. And Mr Mandy suggests to the jury there were electronic devices that police did not see, including several laptops and a USB flash drive. Well, of course, Erin could have volunteered all her electronic devices, couldn't she? If the police came into my house, if I had nothing to hide, if it was something, there's 3 dead phones in my drawer. There is probably 3 old computers as well. And I'd just say, if they said, oh, we want to check your electronic devices, I'd just hand them all over to him. God forbid what they'd find on there because of all the research that I do into true crime, would be probably quite incriminating. But, I've got, if you've got something to hide, you would be a bit more reluctant, wouldn't you, about giving them over? But if the police came into my house for something that was nothing to do with me, let's use this as an example, because I'd had someone to lunch, but they'd ended up dying through food poisoning, and for some reason it was suspected that I'd done it. If I hadn't, if I had, I might be reluctant to hand things over, but yeah, it'd just be like, well, there's 3 computers there that I don't use anymore. Actually, there's 2. I think there's 2. My son's got 2 upstairs that, have bitten the dust. And I think there's 3 phones in that drawer. So I'm actually thinking about it. I'm getting up to Richard Allen's tally, aren't I? I need to sort these things out, do something with them. But what I'm trying to say is, you would volunteer them, wouldn't you? The police come into your house, you've got nothing to hide. Where are your electronic devices? It's like, here you go. So there's no point. So he shows the jury several photos featuring small black rectangular items sitting on a shelf in a photo which was not seized by the police. Plainly, that is consistent with a phone being inside a case with a zip on it. Well, how is it not just a case? How is that plainly consistent? And why did Erin not just hand it over then? So he then signals for a break, but before he does, he makes an appeal to the jury to discount the actions of a woman who was panicking. The law recognises there might be all sorts of reasons why a person engages in conduct, he says. There's all sorts of reasons why an innocent person might engage in that sort of conduct. He says his client got into the witness box and told the jury she had panicked. It doesn't excuse what she did. I'm not making an excuse about it, he says, but you can't jump from there to what the Crown wants you to conclude from those items of evidence. So that was lunch, and Colin Mandy tells the jury that his closing argument will continue into the afternoon, saying, I won't apologise for that, and Justice Beale calls for the lunch break. Gosh, how long have we got to go through this? Oh, I've got to have a little break. I've got to go and get another drink, get some more ice. I think what I'm going to do is put on a little video. I'll only be a couple of minutes. Sorry, I'm just making sure you're all okay in the chat. Right, let's find a little video to put on for you. I'm getting a headache talking about this case. I'll be glad when his testimony is, his closing argument is finished. Right, I'm going to put this one on. Just something to what? 3 minutes. I'll be back by then.
In her triple murder trial, as the jury heard closing arguments from both the prosecution and the defence. The prosecution suggests Ms Patterson's lies in the aftermath of the fatal beef Wellington lunch were the actions of someone who believed they would never be caught.
The sole surviving lunch guest, Ian Wilkinson, sat in court as the jury was told to reject suggestions the deaths of his wife and 2 in-laws was a horrible accident. Prosecutor Dr Nanette Rogers told the jury Erin Patterson's claims that she may have accidentally foraged death cap mushrooms is a late change to her story to fit the evidence of the case. You may think that it dawned on her at some point that the Asian grocer story didn't add up. She had to come up with something new. You should disregard the claim that this was a horrible accident. Dr Rogers reminded the jury Ms Patterson's usual mobile phone has never been found, claiming its SIM card lost connection as police searched her house, alleging the phone seized by investigators was a dummy. All of this was designed to frustrate the police investigation. She knew that the information on her usual mobile phone would implicate her in the deliberate poisoning of her lunch guests. Dr Rogers urged the jury to put emotions aside and find the defendant guilty. You must not feel sorry for the accused. You may not want to believe anyone could do what the accused has done. Look at the evidence. Don't let your emotional reaction dictate your decision one way or the other. Defence barrister Colin Mandy SC launched into his closing arguments by attacking the way Dr Rogers has analysed the evidence. He told the jury the prosecution has cherry-picked the parts which support its case while discarding what he called the inconvenient truths. If there is a reasonable possibility that death cap mushrooms were put into the meal accidentally, if it is a reasonable possibility that Ms Patterson did not intend to kill or cause serious injury to her guests, you must find her not guilty under the law. He said while Ms Patterson's actions caused the deaths of 3 people and left a 4th critically ill, the jury should resist the urge to punish her. You have to put your natural human emotions when confronted with this kind of situation to one side. This case isn't about who's responsible in some general way. This case is about a criminal offence. Mr Mandy said the prosecution was yet to prove a motive. Without a motive, you're left guessing about the most important element of this case, and that is intention. Why would she take wonderful, active, loving grandparents away from her own children? Ms Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all charges and maintains the deaths of 3 in-laws and the poisoning of a 4th was a tragic accident. Abby Dinham for 10 News First.
Oh, that was perfect. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go to the loo. Oh, bye, Tracy. 3 minutes. Was just right. Now let's go back to where we were. It's got to be near the end now, hasn't it? It's got to be near the end. Just got to be. Please God. Right, I'm back. I've got a new drink. I've got a big ice cube in there. Hopefully it'll last. Might have to put the aircon back on. We're on 31 degrees here in Spain at the moment, so it's a bit humid. Yeah, it's the weather, Heather. Okay. Right, let's carry on. So, Mr Mandy summarises the evidence of telecommunications expert Dr Sorrell, warning the jury to be careful of missing information. He says the prosecution skipped over the limitations, the complexities and the nuances in analysing mobile phone data. The Crown attempted to rely on his limited evidence of a possible opportunity on these days to go to these locations. Again, don't forget that Mr. Mandy did not call any, really, Colin could have called his own data communications expert, couldn't he? You know, to go over the data. If he's calling into doubt the data communications expert's evidence, why didn't he call the data communications? He hasn't called anybody. You know, this is so shallow, everything that Colin is saying, because there's no substance to it, because it's just what Colin's saying. It's not what, he's got no experts to back up anything, whereas the prosecution had an expert for everything. So he says, just because he says it, the jury cannot exclude that there are other possibilities about Miss Patterson's movements on the days in question in April and May 2023. It's not for us to prove that she went for some other reason. The prosecution has to prove she went there, and she went there to pick death cap mushrooms. Well, I think they have proven that, because she then bought her dehydrated, didn't she? So Mr. Mandy reminds the jury that Erin did not have to take the stand as a witness, but she chose to expose herself. He says she did this as an innocent person. No, Colin, she didn't do it as an innocent person. She took the stand because there was no other defence except for that. You haven't called anybody else. It's difficult to imagine where you're putting yourself under an incredible amount of scrutiny. But she made that decision. She made that decision as well because she's a psychopath, because she thinks she's cleverer than everybody else. She's a total narcissist, and she just thinks she's superior to everyone so she can make people believe her. Don't forget the way she spoke to the prosecution. You know, the way she sort of treated her like she was some sort of idiot or something. But the prosecution, Dr. Nanette Rogers, I think she wiped the floor with Erin, and she tricked Erin, you know, into revealing what a good memory she had. So you would not have had the impression she was trying to charm you or persuade you. He says his client came through the cross-examination of the prosecution unscathed, and that her testimony was consistent. Right, okay, sorry. He is such a liar. What a liar. He's the biggest liar of all, isn't he? Right, where's my liar thing? Oh, my God. So, she came through it unscathed. Has he been watching a different trial to us? Okay, then he takes aim at the absurd arguments in the Crown case. He dubs it these propositions convoluted and absurd. That Erin Patterson would commit murder without any motive. Oh my God, that Miss Patterson used the cancer lie to get her lunch guest to attend. Of course she did. That Miss Patterson expected her guest to take her claims about having medical issues to the grave. That Miss Patterson would have committed the crime knowing an investigation would fall directly on her. Now, I must admit, you do think that, but you do think, oh, well, surely she would have known that she would get investigated. But do you know what? I think Erin did not think that death cap mushrooms would ever get found out. That's what I think. I think she thought she was so clever to use death cap mushrooms. She was thinking this will never get found out. So she couldn't believe it when she went to the hospital that day, and immediately they said to her, oh, we think they've been poisoned by death cap mushrooms. Did you forage mushrooms? She said no then, didn't she? Well, she blanked them at the hospital. She told the police initially she'd never foraged for mushrooms. Why didn't she just say at that time, if you know, to me, if it's true that it was an accident foraging these mushrooms, which could happen, why did she not say right from the beginning, oh my God, must have been those mushrooms that I foraged. She didn't. She said she never foraged mushrooms. That's what she said. She'd never foraged for mushrooms. She'd never had a dehydrator. So I think Erin never expected the investigation to fall on her. And it's only since then, because she's had 2 years now to think about her story, hasn't she? She had 2 years to come up with an alternative story. Anyway, that's what I think. So he picks on a metaphor used by Nanette Rogers in the prosecution's closing argument, where she referred to the case as a jigsaw puzzle to be pieced together. You can't force jigsaw puzzle pieces together, he says. Well, these jigsaw puzzle pieces, they fit together dead easily, I think. Snug as a bug. I don't think you've had to force them together at all. I think they all just fit in nicely. Prosecutors can, as we've seen in our learned friend's address, force the evidence to fit their theory. I think that's the other way around, Colin. I think I'm not even going to mention it because I think we all realise now it's actually Colin who's doing all the things that he was accusing the prosecution of. He says, while missing puzzle pieces may only leave an incomplete picture, missing evidence is much more significant. He tells the jury that the prosecution has manufactured a picture by assuming that Erin Patterson is guilty, using hindsight. Well, I think the prosecution, that is their job, isn't it, to assume someone's guilty? Isn't it? Isn't that what prosecutors do? They prosecute using hindsight, not allowing that witness may be mistaken. Yeah, one witness might be mistaken. Are all these witnesses mistaken? How many witnesses did the prosecution call? Loads. How many witnesses did Colin Mandy, the defence, call? One. Erin. Being selective with its evidence. Well, at least they've got some evidence. Ah, dear me. Anyway, he reiterates there must be proof beyond reasonable doubt, and the onus is on the prosecution to prove it, and that is true. That is the basic bedrock of our society, our legal system. That's why it's called the burden of proof, because it's something they carry. He says that is how the legal system works, and it protects everyone, including the jurors. If there's an honest but mistaken witness out there who thinks you've done something wrong, you might well find yourself on trial. Yeah, maybe one witness, but maybe not like 15 witnesses. These principles protect all of us, and they protect us from being wrongfully convicted. It's true. A jury can't say, oh, well, she's probably guilty, so that'll do. No, they can't. But they'll probably start off maybe with I think you probably get an impression quite early on, whether you lean in towards guilt or guilt or innocence. But then that's the job of the defence, to show, that your client is innocent as well. I mean, I know it is the prosecution who has to prove guilt ultimately, but when I think this prosecutor has done well like that, they've provided lots of evidence, lots of witnesses. Good God, I mean, this is nearly 2 months, and the only evidence that the defence provided, or it's not even evidence, the only witness was Erin. No character witnesses, no friends saying, oh, we can't believe that Erin could ever have done this. Erin, he never brought any of those Facebook friends who he says that the prosecutors cherry-picked the evidence from the Facebook friends who said that Erin didn't like her in-laws, that she was an atheist, blah, blah, blah. But he never provided any that said the opposite. And a jury can't say she lied about a lump on her elbow, she lied about cancer, she said terrible things about her in-laws, she behaved badly, and so we're going to convict her. Now, he's right in what he says, but, you know, it doesn't help, does it, Colin? You know, when you find out about all these lies, you've got to think to yourself, why did Erin lie about all those things? He says only the evidence can be considered, not prejudice, empathy, or any notions the jury has about witnesses. And in his summation, thank you God, Mr Mandy tells the jury that if there is even a slight chance that the poisonings could have been accidental, they must acquit Erin Patterson. And he emphasises words to the jury as he repeats each proposition. If you think that maybe she deliberately poisoned the meal, you must find her not guilty. If you think that it's likely she deliberately poisoned the meal, you must find her not guilty. Really, is this the best defence you've got? If you think that she probably deliberately poisoned the meal, you must find her not guilty. And this concludes the defence's closing argument. Hallelujah. And you know what? I won't be the only one thinking that. I bet Ian is glad. I bet the judge, I bet everyone's glad, even Erin, that that's it now. It's all finished. There is no more evidence to come from prosecution or defense. The jury know everything there is to know in this case, except for what the judges charge, that will start on Tuesday. Oh my God. So, you know, Justice Beale making everyone laugh again, because it's funny, isn't it? A triple murder trial and an attempted murder. Yeah, let's have a laugh and a joke about it. Justice Beale previews his directions next week and tells the jury it is more important than ever that you have a good weekend. This draws a laugh from the jury. And Justice Beale reiterates that he wants them fresh for next week when he gives his charges. So the prosecution and defence, thank God, have now completed their closing arguments. We've heard from all the witnesses. We've heard and seen all the evidence. Court will adjourn until Tuesday, when the jury will return to hear Justice Beale's directions. And these directions will likely take more than one day. And so it's going to be at least Wednesday before the jury are going out, if for deliberations, maybe even Thursday. And he will remind the jury of the definition of the crucial terms such as reasonable doubt. And after that, their jury will head out to deliberate. That's it, I think. Yeah. So that's it till Tuesday. You'll all be glad to hear. So, of course, it means that we can look at some other cases in between, because I've been sort of a bit, you know, with this case, you know, sticking with this case, because it's important. We've been with it right from day one in the trial, haven't we? Yeah, it's true, David. He is, and that is his job. I shouldn't be nasty to Colin Mandy, because that is his job, isn't it? To defend Erin. He's certainly tried when he's got no defence whatsoever, but he's tried his best, and he may have been successful. He may have been successful. At the end of the day, nobody was there in Erin's kitchen, you know, well, apart from Erin, you know, nobody can, no, nobody watched her put them in and knows what was going on in her head. Was it a genuine accident? Or was it, you know, deliberate? And I just think all the everything in itself, to me, everything, every little thing does not mean everything, but all the little things put together mean everything. It's too much, too many things for it not to have been deliberate. I don't believe the story about the Asian supermarket. I don't think she was helpful. to the people investigating where these mushrooms had come from. I don't know why Colin Mandy didn't call these supposed Facebook friends that he says, say that she isn't an atheist and that she did love her in-laws. Where are they? Where are the Facebook friends that she sent positive messages to about Simon and the in-laws? Mr. Mandy didn't call them. So they don't exist then. Because I'm sure if there were messages saying how positive Erin was towards her in-laws, he would have called them. That's what I think. Celebrate good times. Just celebrating that it's over. I expect there'll be a few of them, including Ian, of course. Poor Ian. Because he is, the survivor, but he lost his wife. Wonder what he'll be doing this weekend. I expect he'll do, because he's a pastor, of course, so he'll be doing his service on Sunday. I wonder what he makes of it all. I really would like to know. What does he think? Does he think Erin deliberately tried to poison them all, or does he believe that Erin didn't? I think he probably believes that she did, because he was adamant about those plates. The plates, the colour of the plates. He was adamant about that. Even he doubled down on it, even when he was challenged about it. So, it must be a horrible feeling, thinking that somebody might have tried to kill you, isn't it? Erin, of course, is in custody. She volunteered to have to wait longer for her trial. She said she didn't mind waiting. So she's in custody. Personally, I think Erin probably quite enjoy it. Erin likes attention. Any attention, good or bad, for Erin is acceptable, I think. I think Erin will thrive in jail, to be honest. And because she's a super sleuth and interested in true crime, she's probably writing a book while she's in there. Too much shit. Yeah. Yep. There's so many. Maybe we'll do a little sometime over the weekend before Tuesday. We'll do a little what's the word? Recap again. But I don't think I can face doing another recap, to be honest. Or even a death cap. There's so many other cases. But, this is it. I tell you, this case is important because of these people. I think they're getting forgotten, because Erin, with her lies, Don, he's deceased. He was 70. It's not that old in today. He could have had another 20 years. Same with Gail. Heather was only 66. And Ian survived, but, by the skin of his teeth. So these people, they're not here anymore, these three. And not only that, they died agonising deaths. I think she meant to poison them, definitely. I don't know that she meant to kill them, but I think 100% certain she intentionally put those mushrooms in that meal. And she never thought in a million years that she would get caught out for it, but she did. But whether she gets properly caught out for it, that will be in the jury's hands, of course. Okay, so I hope you're all okay. I hope you, have some. I'm having mushrooms in a bit. Pasta and mushrooms, definitely. I've gone back on mushrooms again. She's not going to put me off mushrooms. I do quite like mushrooms. But I'm thinking Just, it has been a bizarre case. I've never known a case like this. It's completely bizarre. I mean, there's been so many times that people have poisoned people and didn't get found out, didn't get caught out, And then I know antifreeze is another popular poison, isn't it? There's been quite a lot of cases of people being murdered by antifreeze, putting antifreeze in their drinks. Good job I prepare my own Coca-Cola, because apparently you put antifreeze in someone's Coca-Cola and you can't taste the difference. Yeah, Heather, careful what you forage. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to have lunch. I'm going to lie down in a darkened room again because, these are long streams, aren't they? But I'll be back tonight for members with my new song, me singing. So don't let that put you off. Don't let that. I'm singing and dancing. I think you'll enjoy the song. I think we need to have a disco in members one time, don't we? As I was thinking that, like if I sing the songs, like maybe they won't get picked up by copyright because nobody would even know the songs that I'm singing. But, All right. Is that true, Jane? Empty seats in the public gallery today. Yes, people don't want to hear the defence because they've made their mind up, maybe. Thank you, Andy. That's so very kind. Thank you so much. I might get a bottle of wine with that, actually, rather than a coffee this time. I feel like it. I'll tell you, when this, we'll see what happens with this case. But if justice is gained for Don and that, we need for them. We do need. It will be a celebration if there is justice found. I mean, it's not a celebration because these people are deceased. But you know what I'm saying. It's always good when people are held accountable for what they do, isn't it? Oh, I haven't seen the message yet. Hang on. I don't know. Oh, hang on. I have to go into the Ko-fi. I'll have a look, Andy. Hang on. I have to go into the Ko-fi. It doesn't link up with StreamYard, unfortunately. Let's have a look. I wonder if there's a way that I might be able to show it. I don't think I can show that message. Hang on. Oh, there you go. I might be able. Can I show it? I can't. So Andy says that necklace is lovely. It reminds me of my goldfish that died. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about your goldfish, but I know what you mean. It's got that goldfishy look to it. Yeah. It does look a bit like, they do look like goldfishes, don't they? Yeah. Goldfish always, just totally changing. We're really waffling now, aren't we? But, sorry, I'm trying to put, God, I'm getting mixed up now with where I am on the, when I was a kid, like we had loads of goldfish. You used to win them at the fair. Do you remember? I expect you can't do that now. That would be, when there was absolutely no, and poor animals just never got any, because even though they're goldfish, still, they shouldn't be kept in bloody cellophane bags, should they, in water? So you'd go to the fair, you'd go to the local fair, and if you go on the target practice or, I don't know, hook a duck or one of those things that we used to do at the fair. And if you won, you'd win a goldfish in like a cellophane bag, like a goldfish in water. It's horrible, really, when you think about it, isn't it? And then you take it home and put it in a goldfish bowl. and you wouldn't, it wasn't like aquariums, you know, like people have now. It'd just be like literally a glass bowl, plonk your goldfish in there, and they always died, didn't they? They always died, bless them. Poor little goldfish. R.I.P. Oh, yeah, yeah. Kid 48-hour guarantee. Yeah, lots of goldfish over the years when I was a kid have gone to a watery grave. Bless them. I would never have a goldfish now, or any animal that you know, these animals, they should be out in nature, you know, like they shouldn't be in goldfish bowls, should they? Maybe in aquariums, but even aquariums, I just don't like animals of any kind being restricted like that. You know, I just don't like it. And even here in Spain now, you're not allowed to have any live animals in pet shops. Remember how it used to be? And here in Spain, like they'd be selling pedigree animals, and you know, they're not allowed to do that now. They're not allowed to sell any live animals, or I think maybe fish they're still allowed to sell, but not any live animals in Spanish pet shops. So, yeah, I was just saying that, Heather, you used to win them at fairs in a plastic bag. Hi, Angela. Did you see the message about disposing for salmon? Please go. Yep, we've talked about all that, Angela. Oh, the message. What message from you? Sorry. Oh, Tib Street, Heather. Yeah, Tib Street used to go. They used to sell kittens and puppies and all sorts, didn't they? In Tib Street in Manchester. Yeah, I remember that well. Well, let me just put this up. Yeah, it was horrible. But having said that, I probably didn't think, you know, years ago, I probably didn't register as much now. There's so many things that, you know, used to be acceptable years ago, it just won't be acceptable now, is there? Like here in Spain, they like having little birds in cages. I don't like to see that either. So did you mean a message from you, Angela? I don't think I saw it, but we have talked about all that. So don't forget, there's a playlist, because it's been, you know, this is 2 months now we've been covering this case. We've covered this every day, everything that's come up, the playlist in the description box below. You know, if you want to catch up on everything. I was thinking I might do that actually over the weekend or something. It's just something you can put up on in the background and listen to, because there's some things that you forget. You know, there's been so much happened in this case, so much evidence from the prosecution, not from the defence. There's been nothing from the defence really, has there? But there's so much that you forget some of the things from earlier on. So I'd like to go back and listen to Ian's evidence again and Simon's evidence again. Their evidence was given right at the beginning, wasn't it, of this trial? So I think I might go back over that again. Yeah, everyone, thank you, Darren. Everybody enjoy your day or your evening or your afternoon. Whatever you're doing in this crazy world we live in. But thank you, God, at last the defence has finished. The closing arguments are finished in this case. I'll be back. Well, I'll definitely be back tonight for members. As I say, Heather, don't forget to be there tonight because I've got a special song and dance. And there's a few things I'd like to. I was going to talk about some of these ridiculous YouTube channels. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to do that because it's too depressing. But listen, if you're a member and you're coming on to the members live later, let me know. Maybe there's something you'd like to talk about in particular. Maybe a case, maybe not. Maybe just sometimes we like to have a chit chat, don't we? Or talk about, you know, all sorts of things. If there's anything in particular, don't forget, you send me an email or so. I'd quite like to talk about this. If not, we'll just talk about something that's interesting. We'll have a laugh. We missed last week's because of the, what was it like? Oh, the StreamYard went down last week, didn't it? So this week we're making up for 2 weeks. Yeah, Heather likes her ghosts and aliens, don't you? Should we do ghosts? Should we do ghosts tonight? Should we talk about the paranormal tonight? I'll have a look and see what I can find. I haven't been in my, you know, my spare room that is supposedly haunted. A couple of nights, my son's friends have been staying there. I must ask them, you know, did they see anything? But yeah, let's do paranormal tonight. Let's do paranormal. Oh, thank you, Angela. So Angela says, hope she don't mind me putting it up. I was born in the UK, love your accent, lived in Australia since 1974. Gosh, long time. That's even longer than I've lived in Spain. Laurie Fruit Loop, yeah. Yeah, we haven't talked much about her. God, you could have a whole day stream on her. She's just unbelievable. Well, she thinks she was chosen by God to murder her children and her husband's and new husband's wife. I mean, Laurie Vallow is a true Fruit Loop. You know, it's, you know, quite often you see people who are a bit psychotic or, you know, doing a true crime channel. Obviously, none of them are normal, are they? Because they won't be murdering people otherwise. But Laurie is special, isn't she? She definitely is specially, because she thinks, although she's murdered her children or conspired to murder them, and all these other people, this trail of bodies she's left behind her, she still thinks she's the chosen one. She's going to heaven. You know, just so deluded, Laurie. But unbelievable. Yeah, well, she's not, I don't think she's a bunny boiler, David, because men leave their wives for her. I don't think she's ever gone after, I don't know. Don't think, when you think about bunny boilers, that's like Fatal Attraction. That was a woman that couldn't get her own way. Wasn't Laurie's had her own way all her life? That's the problem. Men fall over themselves for her, don't they? You know, she's not struggling for male attention, or she hasn't. I think she might be struggling a bit now. I don't know. There'll always be some nutter that will find someone like Laurie attractive for some unknown reason. Okay, I'm definitely going. So I will see you really soon in the next video. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Angela, and everybody. And thank you for the Ko-fi, Andy. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. If you remember, I'll see you tonight. And until then, of course, may your God go with you. Bye.